that's probably where the road has been for 20 years, you know? I'm like, dude, now you. Now what you know what I mean? So I was like, I really have. You know, like, okay, step back.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. You're gonna find, take a hatchet to it, aren't you? Send it back in pieces. That one's been kind of troublesome for you, as I recall. Don't think it out. Doesn't say where these pages are. Page that. It should look good.
Normally, it's, you know, 2006 together.
That's the reason I did so much work on my Chromebook, you know, for ordinance frameworks and stuff, is because these things are really hard to work on. Any actual meaningful work. You know, keyboard's small and it thinks it knows what you want to say and stuff like that. So.
It is 9 o'clock. Call the Land Use and Information Committee meeting for April 2nd, 2024 to order. Notice has been posted in accordance with Wisconsin statute 19.84 open meeting law. At this time, we'll accept any public comments. If they are for something on a public hearing, they can be taken then. Are there any public comments at this time? Hearing none, we'll go on. Approval of the agenda order.
Make a motion to approve the agenda order?
Motion by Ms. Anderson,
Second.
second by Mr. Payton. All in favor?
I
Opposed? Carried. Approval of minutes of the March 5th, 2024
Make a
meeting.
motion to approve the minutes.
Motion by Mr. Payton,
Second.
second by Mr. Blumberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. This time, Jason will read the public hearing notice.
Notice of public hearing, State of Wisconsin, County of Burnett, Tuesday, April 2nd, 2024 at 9 AM at the Burnett County Government Center in room 160, Town of Meenan, Severn, Wisconsin, regarding the following Burnett County Land Use Shoreline Protection Ordinances. Number 1, conditional use permit CUP 2405 Canoop. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Dewey, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Cody Canoop has made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to operate a home occupation business of a gunsmith located at 1904 Sand Road in the A2 zoning district, southwest quarter of the southeast quarter, section 27, town 38, north, range 14, west. Number 2, conditional use permit CUP 2406 Newbert. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Swiss, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that Michael Newbert has made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to allow a camping unit for up to 3 years on the parcel located at 31207 Staples Lake Road in the RR3 zoning district, lot 2, CSM volume 27, page 132, section 7, town 41 north, range 15 west. Number 3, conditional use permit CUP 2407 Dalesvine. Public notice hereby given to all persons in the town of Wood River, Burnett County, Wisconsin, that John and Casey Dalesvine have made an application for a conditional use permit for the terms of the Burnett County Land Use and Shoreline Protection Code of Ordinances to allow livestock in a residential district located at 22905 Wood Lake Drive in the RR1 zoning district parcel and government lot 6, section 25, town 38 north, range 18 west. And number 4 is postponed until next month.
Thank you, Jason. This time we'll take conditional use permit CUP 2405. No. Please state your name and what your plans are.
Hello, my name is Cody Nope. And thank you for seeing me today. The plans are is that operated as a hobbyist. I've done some niche work on my own. But there's been enough interest and that I would like to actually go ahead and create a part-time business. Have my residence. One of the things I guess to have that FFL to do the business is the conditional use kind of business that allows for manufacturing. So with this conditional use permit, then with the FFL, that still would have to be. Kind of the basic rundown of it. I don't expect to expand or have a storefront or anything more than. It's just to allow for. I did see one of the emails that showed we were in violation of septic. Or the permit. I did look into that. We talked to our service provider at the seats. They provided and talked to them. Submitting that stuff.
Any questions from the committee for the applicant?
Just one probably. So you're talking about like doing things like scope mounting for people perhaps and that kind of thing?
It's actually, yeah, scope mounting could be one of them, et cetera, is I do have machinery to do a lot of small manufacturing of little parts, like a lathe and a mill, just general gunsmithing stuff. To be able to thread rifles or to actually chamber and build new rifles. It's manufactures any kind of modification to an existing firearm.
No, reason I asked, the only thing I can think of, and I think it's really good, they're really hard to find somebody who knows how to fix something on a rifle.
Right, there's been a lot of interest locally in having another business close by that's licensed to do all these things. I know there's some businesses around, but I'd like the option to be able to have my own help.
And the reason I was asking was just that the only thing I could think of that could be an issue with any adjoiners might be if there was a lot of shooting at, early hours in the morning and that kind of thing. So if you're sighting in for people or after you've got done the work, check pressure and that kind of thing on new chamber. But it doesn't sound like it would be very extensive and.
No, nothing more than what I've already done.
Which we can do now
I
as
spoke,
hobby.
I spoke to my neighbors that do live in, I guess, earshot and they're supportive.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is I tinker too, and I shoot at home some, and I try not to do it in the morning or when I'm gonna bother anybody, but
Right.
it's the same thing.
I've got two little kids at home, so I have to work around their
Yeah, well,
naps.
just wanted to
and stuff.
kind of get that on the record that it isn't going to involve significant amount of noise.
No, nothing more. Sorry, correct.
You're not expecting to have a range too, are you, for the setting in it?
Not a public range. What I have is I have a range to 200 yards behind the house, and that's the extent of what I can do with my premises.
I find myself coming to the sportsman's club more than shooting at home because it takes me longer to set up than it does to drive the siren. So, but the same kind of thing.
But would you allow other people to use your range for?
No liability and stuff for that. I have to get, insurances for the business. Doesn't allow any non-business members to shoot at my premises.
So probably no earlier than 9 AM.
Right, yeah, no earlier than 9 AM. Most of the shooting that takes place is usually later afternoon before evening. And shooting too with, concerns for neighbors and hunting and stuff like that during the season is try to limit that. I do actively hunt my own property, so keep those all limit the amount of noise disturbance at those times.
Yeah, I live in the village of Transfer and you're shooting out in the Rotten Gun Club. Actually, I think that sounds rather pleasant. Hearing that. It probably would be annoying if it were happening. Morning or I'd have it here. Pretty much late afternoon.
And part of the business structure is we
You do have a license then.
Had the sanitary system been serviced and then the person just hadn't set the card in, or how did that work?
They said that some of their servicing has been through an older system. And they got the new username or ID, whatever it took, and they've said that within like the last 24 hours, we got them into the system. But I had brought the paper receipts that they've offered.
With a holding tank, the owner is obligated to provide reports that they're servicing it, but they usually depend on a service provider to do that. And some, if it doesn't get properly done, it shows up as not done.
Right,
I think that's safe to say.
The servicer was is from a different county. It's just recently acquired the business and just expanded into Burnett County.
It sounds like you've got that,
So I
got a
wanted to make
handle
sure
on
that
that
was-
now, Jason? So.
Any other questions for the applicant? If not, I'll open the public hearing for conditional use permit 2405. We have gotten one letter from the town.
Correct, there was no objection. to it.
Looking at their comp plan, they encourage home occupation so long as they're not in conflict with A. So I think it satisfies that as well.
Are there any public comments? We haven't received any on Zoom, so. Since hearing none, we'll close the public hearing for CUP 2405. Home occupation gunsmith.
I'd like to make a motion. It's fine to do that at this time.
Yep.
Okay. To approve conditional use permit 2405. Home occupation gunsmith. And with the, at least the 3 staff recommendations, sanitary system to be serviced and reported to the county. Or which apparently is already taken care of. And then the second one, follow all sign regulations, 3, follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity. Do we need to show anything about hours or not necessarily? Just make that part of the local. And then, maybe an additional one, I don't know what the numbering would be. I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah.
No shooting, before 9 AM.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Brent, second by Mr. We have a roll call vote. Mr. Sheminski,
Yes.
Mr. Blomberg,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Payton,
Yes.
Mr. Conroy,
Yes.
Mr. Bickford, yes. CUP 2405 has been approved. Thank you very much. Next, we'll have conditional use permit CUP 2406, Newbert. Camper for 3 years, and Mr. Newbert is on Zoom. Are you there, Mr.
I am, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, if you'll please explain your application.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have a camper on the property across the road from the lake. And I understand there were a couple of concerns that were raised by Emily, one of them having to do with the septic system not being pumped out. But that I talked with the Gilly Trucking Group, and apparently they hadn't been able to find the permit number. They resolved that with the county, so that should be good. And then I also reached out to Emily regarding the path down to the lake in terms of the viewing corridor. And yeah, that was just inspected not too long ago by Heidi Liefert and passed then, so I suspect it will be too. I know Emily said she just looked at the aerial photos, so. And I also told her, hey, if we want to meet there and talk about if I need to plant a tree or whatever, totally happy to do that. But the property is our family getaway. We take great care of the place, follow all the rules, and just hoping to continue to do that and enjoy Burnett County.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the applicant?
I have a question. This is Supervisor Karen Lacqua Anderson. Is there an intention to build anything, or are there any projects, building projects in the plan?
There's a deep desire to do that, yes. Unfortunately, it keeps getting more expensive than my budget allows. But yeah, that's why we put all the infrastructure in, you know, with the septic, well, electric, all that stuff. And for one, when I reached out to the builders, they're like 3+ years out, and I really don't want to do a modular house. I'd like to do a stick-built cabin. They're quite a ways out and expensive, so that is the desire, and hoping to make that happen. But at this point, I just can't foot the bill.
Supervisor Blomberg, so is this the first time that you've made an application to have a camper on this property then?
This is the second time.
This is the second time. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
all right, thank you.
Any other questions from the supervisors?
Yeah, Supervisor, I turned off my mic. Supervisor Conroy, and continuing with the thrust of this, we have in the past set a limit on the number of times that we will extend a camper permit like this. So the question I have is do you anticipate getting something going on construction in a reasonably near future?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been actively talking with builders to understand costs. I guess what's the limit in the past been?
The only reason I bring that up is it's, things don't tend to get cheaper the longer we wait, really, but in order to be consistent and fair, we've been, giving people a deadline and saying that this is the last time we're going to do this. We haven't done that yet today, but I think that's something the committee will discuss at some point.
Okay. That's good to know. Yeah, I didn't see that in the paperwork, but yeah, like I said, the family and I would love to put a small cabin up there and continue to enjoy the area. And I'll continue to pursue conversations with those builders.
Any other questions from the committee? I do remember 2 years ago when we issued the original CUP for this camping unit, and you had just proceeded to put in this septic system. And I don't believe at that time it was all completely hooked up to the system, and it has been
It
hooked
was,
up
yeah.
now.
Yeah,
It has
it
been
was connected then too, yeah. Yep.
Any other questions from the committee? Comments?
Would that connection be considered moving forward with building plans?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
No, I
We
mean,
don't pay all that money not to do that.
From our perspective, I would say not exactly. We encourage people to put the septic in that'll be appropriate for the future dwelling. But that we require some kind of sanitary accommodation no matter what. If you're going to be there with a camper, you can't not have anything. So that's just part of the requirements of having a camper there in reality.
Yeah. And it's a 3-bedroom septic system. Yeah.
Yeah, it says in the permits of record, a system for a 3-bedroom system. 3-bedroom system was put in 2020.
Yes.
Which is, making steps, but the next step is to go to the next level. We haven't had the public hearing yet, correct?
No.
So, okay, we'll we can debate after that.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? If not, I'll open the public hearing at this time for CUP 2406 Newburgh camper for 3 years. As far as I know, we have not received any emails of that from anyone.
No correspondence.
We haven't received anything from the township.
Correct.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to make comment?
Surprised nobody from the township is here.
Yeah, surprised George isn't there. If not, I'll close the public hearing for CUP 2406 at this time. Someone wish to make a motion?
Just to start things off, I will. I think, I'm kind of thinking back on the one we did last month, which was, I think, the third approval had been done.
They were asking for the third one and you gave them 2 years, so I think that put them out to 8 essentially.
Yeah, I
8
think that might,
years.
and I'm not sure, but that one I think had been there longer than that even,
Yes,
as I recall.
yeah.
So, but my thinking is, and this gentleman has made quite a bit of progress, but I'm inclined to make a motion to approve it for 3 years with the condition that this is the last one. And it will not be extended again. It does take a while. We came to the conclusion that to get anything started and built around here, it takes a year to get ready, truthfully. And so, but I do think it's time to move on. And so that would be, my motion would be to approve it for one more 3-year period, with the condition in big bold letters at the top of the approval that this is the last one.
And do you want to include the 3 staff recommendations?
Oh, I'm sorry,
in
yeah.
your motion as well?
I hadn't scrolled that far yet.
Only one camper allowed on the parcel. Sanitary system be serviced, maintained, and reported to the county by 6/2024. Follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity.
Yes,
So the applicant should know that this is a hard deadline that 3
This
years
is-
from now.
right. We're saying it here today. It will be in should this be approved, it will be in the notice that is sent that the committee is, we're admittedly binding a future committee. And that, I suppose, is reversible by a future committee, but that would be the intent. I think that's what we did last time. Similarly,
Have a motion by Mr. Conroy.
I'd
Is there
like
a
to second that.
Second.
Yeah.
Second by Mr. Blumberg.
So now we have discussion, right? I guess I'm just confused on, so it's a hard deadline. I mean, so at the end of 3 years, if there isn't significant progress, I mean, like, there's obviously something going up. It's not like, well, we'll give you another year. I mean, there has to be significant enough progress. And, in conditional uses, I mean, I know we somewhat look at what's been done in the past. We look at each individual conditional use permit. And I guess I'm wondering the intention, or do we know when this was initially issued, if they knew that they should get something going? Because that wasn't my impression. I mean, like,
Now they do, I guess. They have a 3-year warning, I guess.
I know, but
it's,
should
It's a
that be the,
3-year permit, so you can't assume it's just automatically gonna be granted every 3 years.
right, but I'm almost wondering, it's like going forward, it's like, otherwise automatically everyone's getting at least 6 years. And if that's the intention and what everyone wants, but if the intention is that this is a way to allow people to, use the property while something is being built, I think from the initial 3-year permit, and I don't necessarily disagree that,
well, I would say that this is kind of in responses, this is something of the committee over a number of years has kind of transitioned to this position. Because we were originally requiring a conditional use for the initial placement and always approving it.
Yep.
And decided it would make a lot more sense to do that as a general permit for 3 years. with the person being informed that, okay, we can issue this. If you want to continue it, it's going to go to a conditional use permit. And there's no guarantee you will get it approved. Because elected you will if you're within the ordinance, but we've established a sort of a policy, not an ordinance. Now, this is not intended to be a permanent situation. So in their case, if he isn't ready to do it in 3 years, he could remove the camper, come and go with it. He could relocate it onto the property into a different spot. But, and that's only because if you're more than 1,000 feet back, you're not going to be regulated this way. But no one want to be that. I think he has every intention of building, but we just have to make it clear that a permanent camper is not okay, for multiple reasons.
Well, I didn't hear that it was imminent
No,
until it was told it needed to be.
Right,
But
right.
as long as that's clear,
Well-
and believe me, I understand, I mean, the costs and the delays, but that would mean almost getting started on something now.
right, that's what I mean. I think the point is that because it is not something that can be done quickly, it needs to be known that our intention is to not approve this again based on this committee's action.
I think that this is what we've been doing lately is when people didn't understand the original cup. And so we're giving them the benefit of that doubt. And then from this time forward, on their original cup, when they come in, we can put a final date and say, hey, now it's going to be 3 years so we can get it back to where it's actually supposed to be.
I agree with Karen's question. I was gonna try to make the same question. But can we assume, and this is probably not the right place to do it right now, but do we put bold language in the ordinance? Or do we look at it conditionally?
Well, I don't think putting bold language in the ordinance is gonna do any good. Most people don't read the ordinance to begin with, so.
But
I don't
you
think
see,
bold
we
against
don't
the
understand.
help.
I guess the question is, we don't understand exactly how every one of these are gonna be.
Well, you look at them on a case by case basis.
That's what I said,
That's why they
conditionally.
have a conditional use permit.
Conditionally.
I mean, in theory, if you don't wanna allow you could just ban them. Say, no, you can't have campers within 1,000 feet of a lake. I mean, if,
We kind of get on a little tangent, but it's
Yeah.
a little bit of an aberration in the ordinance is that we
Yeah.
treat the shoreland area differently than a non-shoreland area. And that's unintended consequences of it once upon a time not being thought to be a big deal, right? But we can't go back and put the tube or the toothpaste back in that tube, right? So in the shoreland area, we are trying to just maintain that the intent of people is to build, that's what we want them to do. Pay appropriate taxes to support the infrastructure they demand. And some of this comes from campers being removed from taxable items and made into personal property. So you can have $100,000 park model on a property and it doesn't pay any taxes. That's kind of the motivation to make us change our stance, was because it wasn't fair to the people on either side who are paying real estate taxes on their homes, right? That's really where this motivation to change and stiffen our resolve came from, I think.
Thus,
You could always increase the tax.
you can't, that's illegal. It'd take a state law change.
No, that's the state's
You
issue.
can't tax campers.
Well, I meant by the permit cost, like if that's the concern, I'd be happy to pay more and.
Oh,
that's
$10,000
alleviate
per,
people's concern.
we just
Right,
$10,000 permit. I don't know how many people would be okay with that.
We're off on a sidetrack, but some of the towns in the state, not just in Bonner County, are contemplating some kind of an infrastructure support fee for everybody with a camper, but it gets challenged as whether it can even be done. And so we don't want to empty that can out either. We're just saying that our intention is to motivate people to move from their camper to a dwelling in a reasonable length of time. So 9 years, quite a while.
And I know, as you stated, future committees, can view this if it should happen again. But how do we get to the point where, we're kind of making a stance and the level of awareness is there for the next committee that might review a request, that it was pretty clear that, in 3 years, it's not going to work to say, I'm thinking about it and I'll contact a builder next week and there might be something 3 years from there. I mean, it seems like that's what we're encountering and it just,
I think we'd look at, it's, Mr. Payton pointed out, it's still a conditional use permit, things change, things get looked at. But I think barring some extraordinary changes to the landscape around here, we would support the position this committee's taken in 2-3 years. That'd be a whole nother election before that, besides the one
Besides one today.
the one today. So, we'll see. That's, I guess, the way I'd put it.
Just a comment to Ms. Dee Anderson. Back when we first started this, when I was on the committee, people were just putting in campers anywhere. Then we went to the point of, you're gonna have to put in a septic system. And that, if you're gonna put one in, don't put it in just for that camper. Put it in so that you have it for a home if you plan it, in the future when you build. So that you don't have to redo it or something else. That was a big struggle with the committee, was to make sure that they hooked it up to a sewer system instead of just using their camper system.
How do we make sure that that does happen? I mean, Craig brought that up very nicely, that almost every one of these cups should, it should be announced to begin with when we approve it.
Yeah, I think that's actually a part of the code that has nothing to do with us.
Right.
Jason enforces, if you're on a property generating wastewater, you are required by state law and code to have a code compliant place to put that wastewater. That could just be a holding tank sometimes, but it is required. It's a requirement that even if we had nothing to say about it, the office still has to enforce that. So it's part of the land use regulations that exist in the state for whatever purpose. You put it, you know what I mean? Whatever use you're making of the property.
It's good that you have that in the code, though, that you have to have a sewer, because we have some people that go, well, my sewer is, I drive it to the dump station in Webster
Right.
every,
Or
month when it's full or something. But-
Again, it's also, we don't allow transfer tanks on private
Right.
property. They're only approved for use in campgrounds and we don't allow them there anymore either.
Yep.
But the point of it is that that's a product. It's not a permit. And the intention of the product was to service the existing campground facility. You don't have one on a private lot. So you're not gonna get a 200-gallon little plastic tub to keep your wastewater in to properly dispose of it, because that doesn't happen. That's the short answer.
Any other comments or on the motion we have?
There is a letter that, this is where that Emily Moore had asked that shoreline restoration standards be looked at.
I talked to Emily about that. She didn't go out and visit the site. She was just looking at aerial photos,
Oh.
and then the applicant did say he talked to Emily as well. I looked and his shoreline looks really good compared to a lot of places in the county, so,
We're good.
yeah.
If not, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Sheminski,
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
no.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Payton,
Yes.
Mr. Conroy,
Yes,
Mr. Bickford, yes. CUP 2406 has been approved. Be receiving a notice from the land use office. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye now.
Next, we have conditional use permit CUP 2407. Delsvine Livestock in a Residential District. Applicant, please come forward and explain the application.
Good morning.
Please state your name.
This is Cassie Dalsbein. I have a little written statement that I wanted to go over to also address some of Emily's concerns as well, that she had pointed out in her email, but just wanted to start with, we believe in sustainable agriculture. I have a master's in agriculture. I'm quite passionate about it. I grew up in Texas, come from a farm family background, moved here about 6 years ago. I'm perpetually cold these days since moving here. My husband also grew up on a farm. So we currently own a lot across from Littlewood Lake. It's 22905 Wood Lake Drive. And so just wanted to point out that I'm quite passionate when it comes to feeding the world. Don't really have that opportunity on our little lot of land. So it comes down to passionate about feeding our family. I'm passionate about feeding them in a way that's as environmentally conscious as possible while working in tandem to create a toxin-free environment, both inside and outside of my home. So I am in the process of removing toxins with all of our cleaning products and our food sources. We try really hard to shop organically, which can be hard in these kind of communities, but really trying to put a focus on where our food supply is coming from. And so when it comes to the wavering food chain, rising grocery prices, and the ever-growing population that's putting a strain on the food supply across the nation, any chance that we get to provide for our family, we're going to take. Like I said, my husband and I both come from farming backgrounds, and considering the cost of real estate, we see this as the best way to raise our children in the same way that we were raised. Introducing our children to the ways of responsible animal husbandry practices that are both environmentally conscious and rooted in animal welfare is something that's incredibly near and dear to our hearts. Our goal today is to get approved for 10 to 15 chickens, but no roosters because nobody wants those. And the possibility to house 1 to 4 goats and 1 to 2 pigs at any given time. Another point I wanted to just address is that we also hope to be active in the FFA and 4-H communities here. Also, just to note too, I don't believe any of the local schools have an ag facility where we could house like show projects. That's something quite different from Texas, where every community had like an ag barn. So none of our local communities have that. So just knowing in the future that we're hoping to have these, animals that we're raising be considered fair projects as well. To address some of Emily's points, when it came to the manure concerns, for our chicken coop in particular, we're utilizing it's called the deep layer method. And so basically what that is like a manure lasagna. So you like take a carbon-based matter and you you literally layer it throughout the season. So all of our litter that's happening and taking place is happening within our coop. So we're not having it exposed to the outside. It's just creating literally a lasagna of sorts where we have carbon-based matter, the manure, you add in carbon-based matter. You only clean the coop out like twice a year. The coop was already on the premise prior to us buying the property. And so honestly, we already had the 5 chickens that we currently have prior to submitting this application. I did look up Madison has an exemption, like even the town of Madison, you can own up to, I believe, 4 to 7 laying hens without having any kind of application. So that was something that I just was unaware of. So when we submitted this application, we were looking to get approved for that 10 to 15 number. Also with the potential to say, like looking at our future plans. So Dave Ferris had pointed out that when we do this application to go ahead and take into consideration like our future plans, which is where the goats and pigs come into play. Yep, the point of the deep litter method is it's pretty much just creating that carbon base, and that's used with like pine shavings to absorb nitrogen from the chicken waste, and you're literally creating an in-house composting system. So that's our plan for our chickens. When it comes to the pigs and the we would definitely work with the county to come up with a manure management plan. And then we also have family farms that are located in Burnett County that if we did ever get to the point where we had excess waste or compost, we could easily remove that waste and take it to our family's farms. So that's an option as well. So I assume our management plan would look something along those lines. And also our garden. We're gonna have a garden, and that's where the first bit of our compost is going to go. Another point Emily had pointed out was looking, if we do get approved for the pigs and goats, to have singular animal units. But I do want to bring up best practices when it comes to animal husbandry rules. It's to raise animals in pairs. And that's just for a number of reasons. And I do have some sources cited here that I can refer to from like the Penn State Extension Office and then like Florida State University, and a couple other, sanctuaries that have pointed out research that comes to what's best when it comes to raising animals. So we're not looking to have a farm by any means. We're just looking to get approval for up to 2 pigs at any given time. They would just be seasonally. So we're thinking just like yearly, maybe have 2 pigs for slaughter and then 4 goats, mostly for hobby and, recreation and with our kids, and then show projects as well. And so if approved for the goats and hogs, like I said, we would ideally keep the animals in pairs to follow best animal husbandry practices, not to exceed 2 hogs and 4 goats on this lot of land. Raising animals in pairs is the best way to ensure healthier and happier animals. Animals raised as singular units will oftentimes get lonely, bored, destructive, and depressed. And nobody wants sad animals on their little homestead, I will say. Like I said, I do have some other points. I won't go into them unless you guys want me to, when it comes to my sources from the different extension offices across the nation. The next point was space limitation concerns. And so we recognize that our lot isn't the biggest, but we're firm believers in making the most out of the space we have. Both pigs and goats can thrive on smaller lots of land, as long as we provide them with food and hay to keep them happy and healthy. Also for the goats, lots of opportunities to run. For pigs specifically, we'd only be looking to raise them seasonally from spring to fall. The goats would be able to plan to keep year round. Again, both of these animals could be potential fair projects for our children. And then if we needed to get into some of the specifics, I have some details as to how much square foot is required per animal unit. I don't know if that's required, so for pigs specifically, one of my sources, which is the Penn State Extension Office, states that for growing pigs, it's recommended that you plan for around 8 square feet of space per pig. While this may seem like a small amount of space, pigs are not terribly active animals. Rather, the behaviors of choice are sleeping, eating, and rooting, leaving the running to horses. As for the goats, raising 2 to 4 goats on half an acre is totally doable as long as we have a plan to supplement with hay. Goats can thrive on just 25 to 50 square feet per goat, with ideal sources being up to 200 square feet of pasture space per goat. And that's more so if we're looking to graze, which we're planning to supplement with hay and feed too. So we're not really looking for grazing options at this time because I don't have that much land. So, and then when it came to zoning, there was a concern that we are zoned residential, but by golly, we're open to rezoning to ag if that's an option. The lot behind us is zoned agriculture. So there's 7 acres behind us. It's currently a hayfield. And so that is zoned ag and it's butts up right next to our property. So if there's an option for rezoning, I'm here for it. So that's my statement. And I hope that addresses the concerns that were pointed out. Oh, well.
Can I make a comment real quick? The 1 animal unit that we're talking about, that is based on, that's the manure chart. So like, how many pigs? 1 pig is 0.1 animal units. So 10 pigs would be considered 1 animal unit.
Gotcha. Okay,
It's
that
not-
makes so much
Yeah,
more
so
sense.
it's not singular
Gotcha.
animal,
Okay.
it's how much manure an animal unit produces. So there's a chart that Wisconsin has.
Here equals 1 animal.
Yeah.
Oh,
one-
perfect.
yeah,
Okay.
so many chickens equals 1 animal unit, so that's where we were saying that.
Do we have a copy of that chart too? I didn't see it, but like I would love to have that.
One,
Okay,
or well, here, just take that one, I'll just print
thank you.
another one.
Yeah,
So 2 pigs and,
Up to 4
goats and
Yeah, I don't know, you throw
10
them
to
in a little
15
table
chickens.
there and you
bunch
get
of
a.
chickens, that would fall within that.
Yes.
cool.
100 chickens is an animal unit.
I mean, that's a goal. 100 chickens. I don't know if we'd have that. No, 15 is all we need.
No, then that's
That's a lot of eggs.
that's the manure management
Yeah.
aspect only.
Yeah.
It's really,
Gotcha.
it's not, there's other issues that still have to be talked
That has nothing
Okay.
to do with the neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
Are there
Okay.
any questions from the committee for the applicant?
Yeah, I have a question regarding the goats. Would you keep those confined so that if you have
Yes.
visitors and the goats wouldn't
Absolutely.
be climbing all over their vehicles,
Yes.
chewing vinyl roofs?
Yeah. Nope. So we would have a pen. We have a garden currently on the side of the house. I'm really bad with directions. The south side of the house. There's already a garden structure that has fencing already up. And we were just thinking we could easily turn that into the pen for the goats. And then we would move the garden to the back where there's more sun, be more open sun, which is just the yard.
Regarding your background in Texas, I'm a former Texan. I grew up in Grantsburg, but I
Oh,
lived in Texas.
What part?
I lived initially in East Texas when I was 19 and 20, and then became a resident in Texas, Corpus Christi, and then
Nice.
I worked for the telephone company up in Dallas.
Very cool. I'm from south of Fort Worth, went to school out at Texas Tech.
Okay. Just as a side note, the city of Dallas, I would hear roosters crowing.
I know, and it
Really
blew my
important.
mind, yeah. Yep,
Enjoyed that.
yeah,
Well, good for you. South of Fort Worth.
yep. About an hour south of Fort Worth, hour north of Waco. Super small community, just like this.
Like Granbury.
Yeah, actually, so if you know where Cleburne is, I'm in between Cleburne and Hillsborough, hour from Granbury. That's real close.
Very
Any
good.
other questions from the committee?
I didn't see goats on the sheet, but I looked it up and it says 0.2 according to Google.
It should be, well, goats and sheep, I think.
They're listed as 0.1 on ours. Okay.
Question for Jason on manure management. If they have to have a plan, right?
When we get to 2 or more animal units.
When they get to 2, they're mandated to have a plan. We kind of thought with this lot being so small that we might want to do something once they have more than just chickens, just to make sure we have it addressed.
But she did say that, you know, manure became a problem and take it to a different farm. Does that have to be in the plan then?
Yeah, that would be, there's some of the plans, that is their manure management plan is where they're gonna take the manure to.
Any other questions from the committee? If not, I'll open the public hearing for CUP 2407, livestock in a residential district. Is there any public in the audience that wish to make a comment? We haven't received any.
Correspondence, from the township.
One thing I did see in there, it said no correspondence in the township, but the township really doesn't have anything to say about it anything.
Well, they're not
Not
under
zoning.
general zoning, but we send a notice to them, they could comment if they wanted to.
Right, we
Yeah, they're-
encourage them to comment regardless.
Yep,
But I'm just saying they are not zoned.
they're not zoned, but this area is within the shoreline zone.
Yeah,
so
I
that's
know.
why it would be-
If the town had strong feelings against this, then I would presume that they would comment.
I would assume so, yeah.
Right, and our practice is to always notify. Sometimes there may be traffic or other concerns, you know, an issue like this, no, I'm not surprised they wouldn't comment. Pretty minimal. But we do want to always provide that opportunity, no matter what.
I did contact the township as well, and they said, go ahead, do whatever animals you want.
Let me talk to Dave, and that's why we're like, what did they did. They did.
The town of Wood River tends to be.
Correct.
We
very
don't have any on Zoom yet.
And it's not my area of expertise, but can someone speak to the groundwater
Mm.
level? I mean, Craig, you might have.
Yeah, it's that is an area of fairly tough soil around Wood Lake. It's a place that's served by a mound, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
If we ever get to that point, don't let the goats get on a mound in the winter,
Yeah.
especially. But long story short, would be a concern if there was gonna be a stack of manure that was sitting there. I think the management that you talked about for the chickens is a really good way to do it, and it's such a minimal amount, 10 chickens is 1/10 of an animal unit. But a dog would be about the same, probably, so that's not it. I think, if we were talking about a significant number of animals and a lot of manure stacked up, we'd be concerned about it, but typically that's because there's an impervious layer not very far down. So it isn't so much seeping into groundwater as it is accumulating in a shallower zone.
I think this lot kind of restricts. That concern.
But let's go with the public hearing or open and close it, and then we can discuss.
I've already opened it and wait. I said there was no comments. I'll close the public hearing at this time. Anyone wish to make a motion? And we do have
For the purposes of discussion, I'd like to point out, I guess, that this is a really congested, high density zoned area. And it doesn't bother me for chickens, but it does bother me for other animals because just anecdotally, I've seen people complaining about the neighbors having rabbits because when the wind was right, they could smell the hutches, you know, and in this sort of a scenario. And so our R1 with a really small lot, I agree that there's an initiative even statewide, there's even a bill in the legislature, although I don't know if it went anywhere, to permit people to have up to 10 chickens, no roosters, as, you know, no matter where you are, right? So again, the chickens I'm not bothered by, on even this small lot, but I am a little troubled by pigs and goats. So, just a comment on my part.
Anyone wish to make a motion? CUP 2407 or R3 considerations. One, manure management plan to be implemented if they have anything besides chicken. Work with county conservation staff on developing this plan. Two, not to exceed one animal unit on the parcel at any time. And three, follow all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Blumberg to approve.
2407, Dowelsbean Livestock and Residential District with those three staff recommendations.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Mr. Payne. Roll call vote, Mr. Sheminski.
Can we restrict it to just goats and chickens? Primary, and you had is the mostly the pigs.
Yeah, well, it's a small number of animals, but I just can see the potential for some conflict with neighbors with livestock that will be more visible and more odoriferous, maybe, but I'm not too sure. Truthfully, I think these two would probably do a great job of managing it. But I wanted to raise the point. So,
I guess was wondering how much odor, being that we've been dealing with the
yeah.
odor from HUD facilities.
We're not anything like a CAFO. There's minimal with two.
I think, yeah,
I don't think that.
There are farms all around that lake.
There's a cattle farm that butts right up to the lake as
Actually,
well,
raised a
and it
pretty
just
good
recently
point.
got to where the
In
cows
that
can't drink out of the
vicinity, if
lake.
the wind is right, you might be gonna get some livestock.
Yeah,
Regardless.
Yes.
Nothing to do with you.
Now, conditional use permits
right.
can be reviewed if we get complaints.
Mhm.
And then the land use committee potentially could revoke the permit.
Very true.
So that's kind of an incentive for the applicants to be very neighbor friendly.
Mhm.
Okay, we have a motion in a second. I'd like to amend, offer an amendment that we'd add one further condition that if we receive complaints of problems with exterior animals, not chickens, but pigs and goats, for either noise or odor or other things, the committee may reopen the permit and consider it.
That'll be number 4 for,
That's a motion to amend I'm making.
I'll second that motion.
amendment of the considerations, adding number 4. Get that?
Did you get that? Anya?
Motion to amend to add if they receive complaint to neighbors for exterior animals.
That this committee could reopen the.
Revisit the cup.
I have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor? Mr. Sheminski,
Yes.
Mr. Blumberg.
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yep.
Mr. Payton,
Yes.
Mr. Conrad,
Yes.
Mr. Bickford, yes. Now on the original motion to approve the CUP 2407, Mr. Sheminski,
Yes.
Mr. Palmer,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Payton,
Yes.
Mr. Conroy,
Yes.
Mr. Bickford, yes. Conditional use permit 2407 has been approved. You'll be notified by the land use office. Thank you very much.
I'd like to make a suggestion that to the applicants, that this has nothing to do with them. But this conditional use permit follows the land. There was someone else coming in there. We're protecting the neighbors.
Next on the agenda, number 7, final plat approval, Shady Oaks. First edition.
Have it up here.
We're good.
You got enough? Yeah, I've got it in here too. Oh, people.
You know, you get paid by the feet.
Yeah. You don't want to take any more, huh?
This is part of
No, I got one here.
a three-phase layout, and we're, second phase was approved probably 6 months ago roughly.
Something like that, yeah. You guys saw the preliminary of this, yeah. Last fall or winter sometime, yeah.
So really, I'm here for a final approval and signature. So
It basically looks the same as what you approved last. You have no comments or anything? from the
Small
town
changes.
commission?
What?
Only small changes,
Just technical things, and
technical.
the township has reviewed it, and
Mhm.
it's out already a blacktop town road, so the town has accepted it. We made this as an outlaw just to make it cleaner and simpler with the parcel map too, so.
Anyone wish to make a motion on Shady Oaks under the first edition plat?
I make a motion that we approve the final
Motion by
plat.
Mr. Payton, second by Mr. Palmer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next on the agenda, number 8, capital equipment line item. Large format printer. You'll be signing it, right, Mr. Payton?
Is it?
Yep, Jim will be signing that.
Yep.
Yep.
And actually, I have Stillwater Bend here too. That one took a little while with the public access issue, but the committee approved this several months ago.
Yeah, so Jim will have to sign the other one, but that one was approved a few months ago already.
Yeah.
Line item transfer, so this is, was pointed out to me by the administration wing of the building. We bought a plotter last year, it was paid for with grant. But then the money got taken out of the capital equipment line item that I had 40,000 budgeted for a truck. So if you take that 12,000 out of there, now it looks like I only have $28,000 for a truck left. So they just basically want basically approval to show the money moving around, I guess, for the auditors. So,
Keep the accountant happy.
yes, so you're not approving any extra additional spending or purchasing of anything, it's just moving.
We're approving what we approved already.
Yeah.
We're accounting for it.
Yes,
Just essentially a corrective measure.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I
I'll
make a-
move to approve that.
I'll
Motion by
second it.
Mr. Conroy. I'll second it. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Land services, property and division report.
All right, the committee reports are in there. Staff comments, you'll see the budget reports are in there. You'll see the revenue is already, double what we were last year at this point in time. Obviously, why I hope it's because we haven't had much of a winter and everything's.
There was no winter.
There was no
until now.
winter. I mean, they were putting sewers in all winter long, which normally that's not the case, so.
Not only normally not the case, I've never ever seen it happen in all the years I've been.
Yep,
That you do a system as an emergency in the winter, breaking frost, the underground out,
yep.
took a week to put in a simple drain field. No,
Yep.
no, that's not,
Yeah, this year there was essentially no frost in most areas. If you weren't driving on it, if it was untouched, it was essentially frost, no frost or only a couple inches and. Yeah, they were putting sewers in all winter. So I'm thinking hopefully our May rush was kind of in March right now. So hopefully.
maybe our midsummer lull will happen the end of May.
Yes, and we just got notice the weight limits are coming off later on this week. In Burnett County, so, then stuff will start really happening.
Yes.
So,
14th next week, or is it this week?
4th
Oh, Thursday, okay.
Thursday, yep. Yep,
It's a very different building season when it's this long. I got siding scheduled to put on my house sometime this year, was done the 3rd of March to start. I was not ready. Did a lot of scrambling around for a couple of days, getting stuff put it out of the way. But anyway,
so yeah, so the budget stuff, everything, all the other line items are normal ranges of things in there. Permit numbers are in the report there, yeah, 13 new dwellings so far this year already. Yeah, it's just been busier than normal at this, normally do winter things to catch up on all the stuff we didn't do, but we haven't had winter time this year to get everything cleaned up, so.
we got a kind of a future, we planned to do some ordinance amendments that things got in our way.
Yep.
We were too busy and I was
We were-
distracted by other things.
We were short of staff person, but now we have grants started on March 4th, so now we're back to full staff again, so. But we gotta get him trained up, he doesn't have any credentials and things, so that'll take a while, so. But yeah,
We gotta figure out some way when we get one of these people who are really good and really up to speed and really competent, that they don't get stolen by somebody else again.
yeah, good luck.
No, I don't know how we, can we,
Lock him in the dungeon at night, I don't
just tell them that
know.
we have a leper colony or something.
Yes,
No one will hire anyone. I don't know.
I have a question. These abbreviations, what does SKA mean, SKAW?
well, that's just a brand.
Jack
of a-
Scott.
Yeah, named after a person, it's just a product brand name
Oh,
of a septic tank,
okay, and then we've got LUP, is that land use permit,
land use permit,
and STR?
short-term rentals.
Okay.
Do I need to have an acronym sheet like that? I think doesn't HHS have an acronym sheet or something to hand out?
Scott does look
Can't
like
read
an
anything unless you
acronym.
have one.
Scott does look like an acronym, but that's
Yes.
his name.
Okay,
And if you probably never met Jack Scott, Jason, right?
I was at that training, he was there,
Was he there?
yes,
I thought he might have been retired by now.
no, he was there.
He's,
Yeah.
he was quite the rounder, I gotta say.
The
Mhm.
Board of Adjustment meet last night.
Board of Adjustment met last night.
What did it decide?
Well,
on?
we didn't do the appeal last night.
That was one for Web Lake.
The Web Lake appeal, it got moved till April 15th, so we wanted to do April Fool's Day and Tax Day, we figured those were kind of fitting. To have some, BOA meetings, so
It was very long.
it was very long last night, longer than it should have been.
The appeal was.
No, the meeting last night, the 5 variances took way longer than it should have. 2.5 hour meeting for 5 that were generally pretty easy ones or not super complicated ones, but.
Okay.
Yeah, so the appeal of the Web Lake Solar will be on April 15th.
Just as point of interest, short-term rental. Notices for taxes due and things from local gov are going out this month. So
We get to see how it goes.
we get to see, hopefully starting, well, whatever the next quarter will be, because they have to be quarters that way. March, April, June, but hopefully we'll see some action.
We've been getting lots of applications and renewals. I think it's typically the normal people though that have kind of been in the know or
Yep.
have getting permits over time, so see if this drums up some new people, I guess.
And they're having a special meeting with Swiss Township just for that. Just for that purpose.
Jackson hasn't been too interested, but I think they're waiting to see how it looks. I think they have some interest
That
too.
was several.
Future agenda items?
Have one or change. Jason, you remember Senate Bill 892 that I sent you about the animal management a while back?
Yeah, I think so.
That it was the Senate decided not to schedule it for a public hearing and deferred it to the House bill version, which went to the governor, got passed, but he vetoed it. But it's a concern in that some of the language in that bill, even though they amended it, thanks to the counties association's lobbyist, to exclude zoning ordinances from being compromised by this language. But there was some language in there that had to do with regulating animal numbers in districts, the exclusive ag or primarily ag districts, which to me, being completely paranoid about the legislature, it looked like our caps on animal units could be threatened under that, maybe. And the exclusion by the two amendments offered to the assembly bill seemed to exempt it from that, but it was vetoed anyway. I think that we ought to put that on. It should either come from natural resources or land use, or maybe jointly, because of our siting stuff may be affected as well. But primarily looked to me like it could be a challenge to capping animal units in districts other than exclusive ag, maybe. So I would like us to contemplate doing a resolution to the county board to object to that abridgment of local control that they seem to like to do so well. Should it come up again? So it's for a future agenda. You know,
So then would this objection go to both the Assembly and the Senate? And also to the counties association?
yeah, the usual type of ones that you see coming local in our committee that we have. But I think it would affect work done by both land use committee and natural resources committee on management of large scale operations. And we did, make some amendments to our ordinance, and I would hate to see them lost.
Do you think it would carry more weight if it came jointly, the two committees?
I think so. I'm gonna ask, put it on in our committee next week too. But, it's, I think, a necessary step. Bayfield County did do what resolution, I think that's what I sent Jason perhaps. That circulate the Bayfield County resolution and see how they did it. They got on top of it quickly. I don't know how they did it so fast to get it to their county board, but they did.
So that would be.
I found out about it the day after our natural resources committee hearing. There's no way we could properly bring it to county board without going to committee.
Any other future agenda items?
We got 5 public hearing items for next month. So that's about a typical amount, I guess, for us.
Anything that jumped off?
No, Hopkins one from a year ago. We finally got the comp plan updated, so we can finish that rezone. We have the waltzing rezone that's been delayed 2 times, so this will be the 3rd time. And then a couple rezone CUP in the town of Dewey that the town of Dewey's for in favor of, and then the one that was supposed to be on today, the Fuller one that boat storage across the street.
Next meeting date is May 7th, 2024. And I will not be there.
Without knowing.
I will make a motion to adjourn since this is my last meeting.
It'll be your last motion then, huh?
No
Yeah, my
click-
last
your
motion.
last motion, no clicking of heels allowed.
No, I already voted this morning, so.
Ah.
Did you write
So I know he's got one vote.
Did you write yourself in?
No, no, I did not. I want to thank everyone for the time we spent together. Been very interesting. Not that it was always pleasant.
Well, it was exciting though sometimes.
Yeah. Always been exciting.
Yeah, Norma and I have served together on zoning, which is what it was originally called. For 18 years. I think.
Yes. First, I've been on county board 20 years. The first term, I was in Health and Human Services, and I still don't understand all their acronyms. I guess I was glad to get into land use, but maybe I wasn't so glad.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You did it well.
Last week I was at Wisconsin County Forest Association. I served there 20 years and I was president for 9 years. Interesting.
They don't let you just have a term and leave, exit, keep you on.
No, no, that's, you have to be a county board member. Yeah.